I'm back!
We're starting off with offense. The shield. Ability cost reduction is minus 33%. Defense against players plus 25, and mobs as well. And looks like this. The Celestial Sensor. With healing bonus by almost 40%, but you take more damage against players and mobs. So that sucks. Probably gonna be used for like 2v2 healers. And the last offhand is the Sacred Scepter, which is pretty insane. You become immune to all CC pretty much. Next up is the bow. Does 1k damage and you can shoot it like 4 times. With 30-second cooldown and a 30-meter range. So you activate it, and then you can just AoE. Pew! Next up is the axe. You slam axe to the ground and do 1.5k damage, physical damage, in 4-meter impact radius. Once the items are knocked into the air, their max and current energy is reduced by 50%. So it looks like this pretty much. Kinda weak in my opinion. Next up is the quarterstaff. You do 820 damage and you leave like a line for 4 seconds. If you go through it, you get druided. And if you use the ability twice, your cooldown will double from 20 seconds to 40 seconds. So it's pretty much like... And then you can use it again. And if they touch it there, they'll get rooted. Next up we have daggers. You pretty much do 2.4k AoE damage and then dash back with a 20-second cooldown. So it's... But for some reason the Q is blocked, so you can't... Like, you can't use it again. Next up we have the new Holy Staff. Jump towards the target location. On a 5-meter radius impact, you heal up 10 allies for 410 HP and knock enemies into the air for 0.8 seconds, and each ally healed increases the resistances by 63 for 7 seconds. Stacks up to 3 times. 20-second cooldown, 40-meter range. So you pretty much jump like this, heal up, and enemies are gonna be knocked out. They removed the Flash Shield and added the Holy Flash, which is pretty much an AoE Frost Shard from the Permafrost. And they changed the Sacred Pulse as well, it's not overtime heal anymore. So it does that and knocks enemies back. It does a little bit of damage. Next up we have the new hammer, Hand of Justice. So you jump towards a place, hitting enemies in 3.5 meter radius. While spinning, you continuously pull enemies towards you, stunning them for 2.5 seconds. And at the end you do 700 damage, knocking them into the air. So it's like... We'll probably have some use in 5v5s. Next up we have the Frost. Can be cast on a teammate or yourself and enemy. In a 6-meter radius, it slows enemies for 20%. And after a second it freezes them for 2 seconds. And does 1k damage in 7-meter radius. The cooldown is 25 seconds, 50-meter range, and it's a lock-on, so you can pretty much... Yeah. Really good for 2v2s and maybe even 5v5s. Next up we have the Mace. Placed Aurora. Spray down area in front of you for 3 seconds. Allies who pass through get a shield that absorbs 5.5k damage, and the movement speed is increased by 50% for 5 seconds. Additionally, the maces will be placed for 5 seconds. While placed, every normal attack heals up to 5 allies in 6-meter radius around you for 111. So if you go through, you get a movement speed and you get the shields. So it's probably gonna be used for like ZBZ, maybe even 5v5s. Next we have the new Fire Staff. Summons a Phoenix that does 1.4k damage and ground keeps burning for 6 seconds. And take extra 69 damage every 0.5 seconds. Oh, and it has healing reduction, 40%. So it costs it like... yeah, any way you want. Damage is pretty bad, but yeah. Probably gonna be good for CVZ. Next up we have the Arcades. They added the new ability Mimic and removed the Purge. So you can take enemies double spell. So it has Chain Slash. I'm gonna have this all. And Chain Slash has 15-second cooldown, so this one is gonna have 15 seconds as well. Now the E summons a Dark Sphere that hits 0.6 seconds after the cost ends, dealing 620 magic damage, and applies a debuff for 7 seconds. That slows enemies by 20%, reduces their damage by 15%, and healing power is all. Healing received. And for mobs it's 8%, stacks up to 5 times. So yeah, slow 20%, 15% healing reduction, 15% damage reduction. Next up we have spears. You charge towards a ground position. When enemies hit, have their buffs removed, and you deal 1.3k damage, and you don't need stacks for it. Cost them 0.5 seconds and 20 meter range, 25-second cooldown. Next we have the Ava crossbows. You channel a beam. Every 0.3 seconds you do 500 damage and 160 against mobs. So it's a 4-second channel, 26 meter range and 40-second cooldown. And it can be cancelled and counter-hooted or reflected. Next up we have Avalon Curse. You summon an area. Against cloth it's gonna do 350 magic damage and 170 against mobs. In this letter you do 120 damage up to 5 times, and you lifesteal. Against plate you slow them for 40%. After 1.5 seconds, Shadow lands a finishing blow that deals 760 damage. Reduces the resistances by 105. So it's gonna be medium damage. Next up we have the Avalon Sword that at 3 stacks does 2.3k damage, and you hit enemies into the air for 0.8 seconds. Big damage. Send damage. For the last weapon we have the Avalon Nature. Link 2 targets together for 8 seconds. So for 2 ally combinations, the damage taken is shared evenly between 2 targets. If the target is healed, the other target gets healed for the same amount. So it's gonna be use E on him, on yourself, and then Q. Yes, you both get healed. Ally enemy combination, 30% of enemies healing received is transferred to the ally. 10% of allies damage received is transferred to the enemy. This seems pretty useless to me, but yeah. 2 enemy combination, if enemy takes damage, the linked enemy also receives 50% of the damage. And also they changed the look for all the fiend and demon armors. And they also added cooldown to spells. That shows when the ability will be up. They also changed the skill tree. They split up all the artifact nodes. So yeah, each one has their own spec, and all of them take the same amount of fame to level up. Yeah, same goes for armors and shields, and crafting is all. SPI is disabling gear switches in 2s, so you can't switch paths, any gear. And you can't go in naked and put on gear either, so yeah, just letting you know. Now I'll be quickly going over the buffs and nerfs. Talk about them in 2v2 perspective. Arcane staffs are getting a new doubling, Mimic, which is gonna be pretty garbage for 2v2s. Bows are getting nerfed, Frost Shot, extra cost time and stun time. Brave Light, 14-second cooldown, and the Warp is getting buffed for PV. Still useless for 2v2s. Daggers are getting nerfed, Chain Slash to 120, meaning they won't be viable for 2v2s anymore. Daggers to 50% HP against mob, won't affect 2v2s. And Blood are getting nerfed to 11 meter range on the E. And when hitting mobs below 40% you don't reset your cooldowns. Death given nerf, invisibility 3 seconds to 2 seconds. It doesn't really matter because they're already dead for 2s. And 5s as well, I think. Force staffs are getting a small buff. Still won't make them viable though, so they ignite to from 20% threshold to 40%, and the Pyroblast to 1.5 second cost M&D. Still useless. Flash Shield is getting removed from Holy Staffs, which is gonna have a huge impact for 2v2s and 5v5s as well. This might move the Q, that doesn't matter much. And the Secret Pulse heal over time was removed, which sucks for 2v2s at least. Probably will be better in like 5v5s. Self-healing sickness, that's not gonna affect 2v2s. Probably only the solo nature or healer players. Nature's getting a small buff to Thorns. Revitalize is getting nerfed again. Circle of Life for nature is getting a buff to cast time. Won't affect 2s. Well of Life is getting a buff for the heal per tick energy cost, but lower duration. And yeah, self-healing sickness again for solo healers. Quarterstaffs, Black Monk Staffs are gonna get a small nerf, which is gonna affect 5s a little bit. Not 2s though. Spears are getting a buff for the Spirit Hunter. Maybe it will make it viable for 5s, not for 2s. Helmets, Hood is getting a nerf. Yeah, that's gonna affect, that's not gonna affect anything. Hunter Hood is getting a nerf, doesn't really matter because it's still broken. Armor's Purging Shield is getting a small nerf for the duration. Druid Robe is getting a huge nerf, so it won't be viable anymore for 2s. Cultist Robe is getting a huge nerf, so you're not fully immune to physical damage anymore. And there's a delay for the first tick. Spectre Checked already got nerfed. Plate armors are getting nerfed, which gonna affect 5s a lot. And Armor Valor, I don't think that will be used that much. Demon Boots are getting a heavy collar nerf, which will make them less cancer in 2v2s. Undead Cape is getting a small nerf for the threshold, and pots are getting some buff. Raven Gankers are getting a nerf, so that's cool. And AO is clearing, and that's for CVZ mostly. Maximum ability damage increase from buffs, that's gonna affect Occult Staff, DPS, one-shot comps in 2v2s, and I guess in ZVZs as well. And that's it for this update. See everybody.